Running a gym isn't that convincing. It's a science from the entrance of the gym lobby area to overall customer interaction and experience. No other woman knows more about gym science other than Marciea Allen. Over the last decade, Marciea has helped coaches worldwide using her years of experience and no-nonsense approach. Marciea will turn their gym pits into moneymakers. Welcome to the Gym Rescue Podcast.
What's up, guys? This is Marciea here with another episode of the Gym Rescue Podcast. And I have a very special guest today that I would like to introduce. Not only is this a very near and dear friend to my heart, but she's also my business partner and life partner, Brittany Welk. A little bit about Brittany before it began and why I decided to bring her on today's show is that Brittany has really started to create a platform for herself outside of our fitness studio. And based on her experience in traveling this past year, Brittany, you've had the opportunity to actually mentor a lot of different gym owners and coaches. And I'm sure there's some commonality as far as pitfalls are concerned when it comes to coaching. So we're going to talk about that today. But before we talk about that, just kind of tell the audience, I know about you, but I want you to kind of give the audience a little bit of rundown and background about you.
Okay, so like she said, my name is Brittany. I have had the distinct pleasure of speaking on stage at GSDCon to gym owners last year, speaking at the Boutique Fitness Summit in Chicago this fall. I've been on, Seven Figure Box podcast. I've done a lot of podcast interviews, Glow Fox, and a lot of other ones, and it's all really related to gym business in general and gym growth. And my focus is really around systems and operations. I'm a huge fan of good systems and good operations, and that's really my primary focus when it comes to gym ownership. So it's something I'm really passionate about, and I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're here. So let's kind of, based on those conversations that you had amongst the coaches and gym owners, I'm sure there's something that each one may have in common, may share in common. Can you kind of share that with me of what those commonalities may be that you see across the board, that maybe the same question that you might get when it comes to the coaches in particular, or the staff, or the group training, just anything that really resonates with you the most when you talk to these fitness professionals?
I would say, and it's something that, us as gym owners struggle with too, is consistency with staff and with your coaches, and staff buy-in just in general into your business, because it's hard to make group training a full-time job. It really is, and a lot of times that's what's most difficult for most gym owners, is having staff who are part-time, or who are coaching several different places, who are wearing several different hats, and a lot of times their sole focus is not your gym. Mm-hmm. It's 50 different places, right. So it's very difficult to get them to meet or exceed expectations. A lot of times they find themselves just having coaches that just do the bare minimum, that come in, teach a class, and leave. Fortunately, we don't have that problem. Yeah. Our coaches are very bought in, and they know the expectations of the job, and they're very ready to step up to the plate as needed.
Sure.
But I think that just comes with leadership. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely one huge pitfall, is just inconsistency in staffing because of the part-time kind of feel of group training.
Sure. So someone that's just getting their feet wet in the industry, let's say for maybe a year or two, and they're having this issue, what would be your number one recommendation for them?
It always goes back to, and a lot of our coaches and mentors say the same thing, is setting expectations for your staff. Something that we as a gym work on as well is setting those expectations of the job. When people come in, they need to know what is expected of them, what the expectations are, what the hours are, what they're expected to do as part of your team. And when you set those expectations from the jump, you have something to lean on when they're not being met. You have something to fall back on when things aren't being met. You can go back to the fact that when you hired them, these are the expectations of the job that they were hired for. Sure. And if they're not being met, then that's a performance issue, and you can always fall back on that. So that would be the biggest thing, is just set clear expectations.
Let's elaborate a little bit more on that. So I get the expectations, which I completely agree with you. Now, there's so many different avenues when you say expectations. It could be your core values, it could be the job description, it could be their expectations. With what in particular can you dive a little bit deeper? Because me being new and I feel overwhelmed, when you say that, I'm going to want to go out and do everything.
I would start with the expectations of the job. Start there. As well as I do, and any gym owner knows what your core values are, and
right.
you hire on your core values.
For
but
sure.
That's not something that you want them. You should already know that them coming in through the interview process, if they meet or your core values or not. If they don't, then you shouldn't hire them.
Right.
But after that, it should be just the clear expectations of the job description. Every job has a description. Every job comes with these are your tasks and other duties as assigned, kind of a thing. And as long as you can fall back on that clear job description, and as long as that's what they read when they were hired and that's what they were given when they were hired, then there should be no question. You can just fall back on, well, the job description says you need to be here 15 minutes before class starts, and you haven't been doing that, so here's what we're going to do. So going back to that job description and knowing full well that these are the points of this job and these are the expectations that need to be met, you always have a fail-safe when you have something like that. If you just hire somebody on a whim and just bring them in and you don't really ever set clear expectations for them, then you're setting yourself up for failure, and you're setting that employee up for failure too.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's not the employee's fault, it's yours as a leader, because it's your responsibility to set those expectations and then give them the opportunity to grow and develop through your studio.
Sure. Very cool. I appreciate that. Thank you. Going back to our staff, and what I like about our staff, not only do they know their expectations, but they're very much so bought in.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but can you let the audience know, why do you think that is?
I think it comes from a top-down approach. As a leader, you always have to be willing to do the work that you ask your staff to do. And I think that because our staff has seen us grow as business owners from the ground up, they know that we are willing to put in the work necessary, just like they are on a daily basis, to grow the business as a team. So when you have that kind of a mentality, a leadership mentality and a growth mentality with your team, and you also give them the freedom to grow and to make decisions on their own, that's one thing too that I feel like I'll be working on with our staff, is letting them breathe and have the opportunity to make decisions, because they know full well what the expectations of the business are and where we're trying to go.
For sure.
Or where we are going, where we are going. So giving them that room to have some creative freedom in the decisions that they make, and not always falling back on us as leaders, or any gym owner. Your staff should never be waiting around for you to tell them what to do.
Or micromanaging.
Right?
Yeah.
They should never be waiting around for you to tell them what to do. They should be making decisions and moving the needle for you.
Sure.
And falling back on you as a fail-safe in case they have questions, but let them, do what they need to do in order to grow the business the way that they know they should. Because if you hired based on your core values, if you've taught them and grown them in your business, then they should be growing the business just like you would. So,
Sure.
Yeah, micromanaging is definitely not something you want to do with your staff.
I completely agree with you there. One thing I do want to ask you is that, let's say that, okay, they've made the minor adjustments or tweaks in order to alleviate that issue that they're having with the job description, and they know what they're doing once they start the position. Now, how do you get them to grow within that position as a coach?
I think investing in them, investing your time, investing your energy into them is important, especially if you don't have the financial means to invest in programs and coaching for them. Investing your time, because at the end of the day, like you, being in the coaching industry, in the fitness industry for 10 plus years, you have knowledge to share with their coaches. And if other gym owners out there have experience in group training and coaching, and that's something if that was their path to getting into business,
right,
then they should be sharing that knowledge with their coaches and with their trainers and developing them that way, because that's a free way to do it. Like you're not paying to invest in a program, you're just investing your time in them. And I
Sure.
also feel like that builds loyalty and trust with your
Agreed.
staff, with you as a gym owner, because they see that you're investing your time and your energy in them, which lets them know that you believe in them and you believe that they are capable and able to do the job that's been given.
Sure.
So.
There are free resources out there, and we've done some of those with our staff. You want to share some of those free resources? If they're unable to pay for an online course of any sort, or just if they don't have the capability to actually do it themselves, how would you outsource that for free?
There's articles that you can read, podcasts that you can share with them. Those are two of the ways that we've done it a lot is sharing podcasts that we like and sharing any articles that we like. You created the TTS platform for our coaches to go through for free. They were able to go through that and really learn about the workouts that we do and the method behind the madness with TTS. So I think that is one way. Those are free ways to do it. Obviously, there are programs out there that you can invest in, but I think it's important to make sure that the staff that you have is ready to be invested in, and I think that comes from growing them as a team and getting them bought in. And then once they're bought in, because if you have staff that's just coming to collect a paycheck and you go to invest thousands of dollars in a program to train them and they really don't care, they're not going to put their time and their energy into learning and growing, and it's just going to be a waste of your time. So you really want to make sure that you've got the right people that you're investing in before you make any decisions like that. But free resources, podcasts are the biggest.
For sure. Mm-hmm. What is your recommendation, let's say, for someone that's maybe transitioning from a PT role to more of a business role coming into this position?
I think making that transition from personal training to business owner is an important jump. There are three different kinds of people that get into this business. There are people who, fell in love with fitness and want to open a gym. There are people who just love business and just want to own a business because that's where they want to put their money. Right. And then there are people who were avid lovers of fitness, who made the transition into business and left fitness behind. And that's kind of where we have fallen. And I think that's the kind of person that is going to be the most successful in the fitness industry and gym ownership, is you have to take yourself out of that coaching role and that coaching mentality and put yourself into a leadership and business position in your studio, because you'll never grow your business if you don't. It's okay to teach a class here and there, we still do, because you get an itch and sometimes you just want to scratch it, which is fine. But you also don't want your staff to be dependent on you to come in and teach classes and fill gaps in your schedules. And you also need to take time to grow your business, grow yourself, personally and professionally, developing yourself.
So focusing on more or less the profit-producing activities.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of times it gets muddied right away. You're overwhelmed especially if you're doing this by yourself. I would say that it's been easier because we've had the both of us, so we've been able to share the load. But it's really difficult to be a solopreneur in the fitness industry because you're doing a lot. You're coaching classes, you're making sales, you're following up with leads, you're doing payroll, you're doing your financials. So it can be really overwhelming. So time management is so key. Sure. Learning how to manage your time during the day is so important. But also making sure that you're not getting burnt out either. Delegating as needed. If you have people that you can delegate, if you have members that you can trade services with, maybe you have a member that's an accountant that you can just trade services with, that they can do your books for you and you give them membership. Sometimes you have to do things like that right away just to get started, because it's like bootstrapping. You really have to get creative with certain things. And then as you grow, obviously you can start paying for those kinds of services, but right away if you can delegate like that, I think that takes a lot of pressure off and allows you to take yourself out of that coaching role and put you into more of that business ownership role, because it can be overwhelming.
Very cool. Guys, she's really dropping some bombs today, so I really appreciate you coming on here. I know these are the types of conversation that you and I have with each other, but to be able to share this amongst the audience and have them kind of be a fly on the wall really means a lot. So before we kind of wrap things up, is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience?
I think in regards to developing your coaches I think it's important to give them the freedom to be who they are as a coach, but give them standards to coach by. Don't put them in a box and force them to coach a specific way. Let them put their own sauce and their own spice in your classes. Yes. Give them the freedom to do it, because at the end of the day, that's what creates experiences in your gym. For sure. That's why certain people come to certain people's classes, because they love their personality. But give them a structure on how to coach a class. Give them a structure from start to finish to follow. That way, there's consistency in the structure, but there's freedom in the personality in classes. And I think that's something that will really help grow your member experience. And overall, obviously, increase your retention in your classes and really give your coaches the freedom to be who they are in their classes.
Very cool. So, that is very good. Very, very good knowledge that you've shared. So thank you so much, Brittany. I really appreciate you coming on today. Yes. So guys, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Gym Rescue Podcast. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for joining today. If you like this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel. or find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or whatever your favorite place is to listen to podcasts. And if you really like this episode, please leave a review and sign up for our free Gym Rescue Toolkit by visiting www.gymrescue.info/toolkit. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.